Today we'll be talking about one of the most asked questions in saltwater fishing and in fishing in general, which is the debate in between whether you should use braid or mono. Quick disclaimer, in this video I won't be saying which one is better or worse generally because, as I will explain, both serve different purposes. First, we'll start off with braid. Braid does really well in deep sea fishing and in fishing in current. Now, the reason for this is because in both of these situations, the little stretch which the braid offers allows for a better connection to the fish. So basically what I mean is, off of personal experience and other sources, when you're fishing with braid, you will feel the fish bites and movements underwater better, and the less stretchiness of the braid allows the braid to go straight down and be straight in situations as deep sea fishing and current, where it allows for an easier retrieve of the fish in those conditions where the water's moving fast, so stretch will make the fight longer, and the pressure of the water and how low the fish is, 300 plus feet deep, 100 plus feet deep, it will make the fight easier, maybe even less time consuming. Now, on the other hand, now we're going to start talking about mono. Mono is good for fishing near structure or trolling. The reason for this is because mono has a higher abrasion resistance and it stretches more. Now, for example, if you're fishing near rocks or near a wreck that has sharp objects, if you're fishing with braid and a fish tries to run away into the wreck, a sharp object or rubbing on the structure will easily cause the braid to break and cut off and you lose the fish. Now, mono, on the other hand, once a fish goes into a structure, tries running away and goes into a structure, the mono goes against the metal. However, it doesn't instantly break because it just keeps going back and forth, and tearing and giving you more time to be able to pull the fish out without the line breaking, other than braid that will just snap on the spot. Now, for trolling, this has to do more with the stretch. Okay, when you're trolling, remember, you're trolling a bait at a certain amount of speed, and depending if you're doing high speed trolling or a lower speed, like slower speed trolling, depending on what you're going for, the boat is, it's going in one direction, the fish is going in another direction. So when the fish bites your bait, there's two forces on each other. And let's say you're using braid, which does not stretch as much, that would put a lot of pressure on your rod, on your reel, and on your line, which can cause not just breaking the line, losing the fish and the tackle, but it can cause some damage to your rod and to your reel. However, if you're using mono, the stretch in the line, once the fish hits it, it isn't instantly going to affect the rod or the reel. It gives it time to prepare because the stretch stretches out. The fish already has pressure on it and is pulling it with the boat already a little bit, which gives you time to stop or slow down, making the impact on the rod, the reel, and the line less. It helps out. Now, going back to braid, it has a very small diameter compared to its line test. Now, what I mean by this is that a 50-pound test braided line compared to a 50-pound test mono line, there's a very big difference in the diameter and how much you could fit in a reel and in the reel size. For example, with 50-pound mono, you may be able to fit 300 yards on a reel. But then on that same exact reel with 50-pound braid also, you will be able to fit almost double that, or yeah, almost double, or around 500, because the diameter is that much smaller. Now, another thing that Braid has is that it allows for longer casting. What I mean by this is that the distance which you cast will be longer than when you cast with mono. The reason for this is because it cuts through the wind better, and now due to this, it makes fishing with lures better because it has farther. And going back to what I said before, it allows you to feel the connection at the end of the line better. It also makes fishing with lures better because you can feel every movement of your lure, of your top water, whatever you're using, and know when you get a bite, know when to pull, so you don't pull at the wrong time. So that's another thing Braid has for it. Now, mono. Mono is easier to complete more complex and stronger knots. Now, the reason I'm saying this is a lot based on personal experience, because when I've dealt with Braid, because of the Braid's smaller diameter and the structure of Braid, which leads it to complicate a lot of knots. However, that issue does become better in Braid once you go up in the test of Braid. Like, for example, making a knot in 20-pound Braid is a lot harder and more difficult, due to my personal experience, than using Braid that is 50-pound test, because it's thicker and it has more structural integrity for it to keep up, and you can pass it through holes and make the knots better. Now, another thing mono has is that it helps with drag. Now, what I'm referring to is that when you get a fish on mono, that stretching acts as basically a second drag or a second force on the fish, in which your drag won't suffer as much, because the fish is fighting two things: the stretch, which is pulling it essentially back to your rod, and your reel and the drag, which are also helping it pull it up. Now, with Braid, because it does have that little stretch, normally the fish fight harder, because it's just one-on-one, there's no stretch, so it's just your drag versus the fish, which sometimes can harm your drag because it puts a lot of more pressure on your drag, so you may have to do maintenance more often on your reels. So yeah, those are the key points I found in between Braid and mono. None is better than the other in general. It's just some are better suited for some situations than others. And yeah, thanks for watching.